Coming up on today's Philadelphia 76ers. Now, we're going to explain how Daryl Morey has committed highway robbery on other NBA teams on multiple occasions. First, before we get started, if you're excited for this season, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. The most likes that we've gotten on a video so far in August, 377. Who isn't excited about this newly constructed Sixers team? I am, you are, so like the video, and with that, let's start the show. Really excited for today's Philadelphia 76ers now. Chase Sr. here with you, producer Jake Chipper on the ones and twos, and you'll see and hear from him coming up here in just a few moments. And the purpose of today's show is to take a look at how Daryl Morey has been able to finesse some other teams in the NBA. And I know that the Sixers under his watch have still not made it past the second round of the NBA playoffs, but look at what he's done this year. Look at what he had to undo from the previous regime of Brett Brown and Elton Brand. Now, this is his team. His fingerprints are on it. And looking forward, Daryl Morey is going to be held accountable for what the Sixers do or don't do. And he's really been a genius with some of the moves that he's made over time. And this all goes back to the 2022 NBA trade deadline. What do I mean? Let's revisit this trade. I know that James Harden didn't end up signing a long-term extension with Philadelphia. I think that's worked out for the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey has become a star. The ball on the offensive side of the floor would die with James Harden on the team. He's a perennial playoff loser. All that being said, the Sixers still won the James Harden-Ben Simmons trade. Sixers got Harden, Paul Millsap. The Nets received Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, a 2022 first, and a 2027 first. Since that trade, the 76ers, 120-72. The Brooklyn Nets, 92-100. How many games has Ben Simmons played, you may ask? In 2022-2023, the stiff Ben Simmons played 42 games. This past year, even more of a stiff and a fraud. 15 games in 2023-2024. He has not even played a full season amount of games since that trade that brought the Sixers James Harden, who, by the way, won the Sixers 2 playoff games in that second round series against Boston. I know he was a no-show Game 6, Game 7, but he still played pretty well, all things considered, in that series. And you look at where these two teams are positioned right now. Philadelphia is an NBA championship contender. The Brooklyn Nets traded away their best player, Mikal Bridges, and they are now in full tank mode, and Ben Simmons is still on that team. And Brooklyn might be trying to get rid of him. They might have to continue to pay him and let him free because they don't want that baggage on their squad anymore. And Harden's tenure, let's talk about that and revisit it once again. I know it was up and down. Of course, the ending got pretty ugly, but Daryl Morey at the time was in a tough position. How do you get value for James Harden? The Sixers got rid of James Harden, and what ended up happening? Here we are now where not paying him helped lead to the Sixers getting Paul George. So we segue to that portion of this conversation. The Harden Clippers trade. 76ers received Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, a 2026 first, a 2028 first, and a 2029 pick swap. The Clippers received James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Filip Petrusev, who was playing for Team Serbia, by the way, in the Olympic semifinal for Team Serbia. And what was the big thing about this trade? Daryl Morey did not want to take on any long-term contracts. He also wanted to stack up some draft capital. He didn't want to take on long-term contracts because he had this offseason in mind where he wanted to have the most amount of cap space in the NBA, and the Sixers used that wisely. And now the Clippers might be bad, and the Sixers have their draft picks. This was an absolute fleece job. Los Angeles gave the 76ers the expiring contracts they needed to sign Paul George and their future picks, while now they are stuck with an old James Harden who's always a playoff flameout, and the off-injured Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers could end up being really bad, and the Sixers have their draft picks. And pretty much, the Clippers decided to pay James Harden over Paul George. Not a decision I would make, but it's worked out for Philadelphia. So going back to the Simmons trade, the Sixers flipped Simmons, Drummond, Curry, 2 firsts for Paul George, KJ Martin, 2 Clippers firsts, and a Clippers pick swap. Not to mention Andre Drummond, not playing with the Nets any longer. He is now giving Philadelphia the best backup big that they've had behind Joel Embiid since, well, Andre Drummond. And Andre Drummond has been the best backup to Embiid throughout his entire career. Morris likely to return as well. So, Chip, you put this together beautifully here. Being able to revisit all of this, this is the word that comes to mind. A masterclass. A Daryl Morey masterclass for Philadelphia.
Just you got to think about everything that's happened since that Ben Simmons trade. To be able to move off of a player like that, get James Harden. And then the James Harden thing ultimately doesn't work out how you wanted because you wanted to win a championship. It doesn't work out. And Morey was in a tough spot in that summer. How do we get value for a player that says he's not going to play for us? Doesn't want to be here. That's, talking bad on Daryl Morey's name, saying players shouldn't go there. You don't want to play for Daryl Morey. He's a liar. He doesn't keep his word. He's able not only to trade him, but had the foresight, I think, in all of this. He had all this in the back of his mind the whole time with the Harden trade saga. They knew they wanted Paul George. They knew that this offseason that they just had, they wanted to have that money open to go get a big-time player in Paul George. And so he was able to not only just trade Harden for expiring contracts to open up that money, he traded Harden to the team that Paul George was on and got Paul George's team to give him the expiring deals he needed to steal Paul George right away from them, and in the process got their future picks for a team that, again, is going to be, you think, pretty bad moving forward here with James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, older players who, at least for Kawhi Leonard in particular, very injury prone these past couple of seasons, can't seem to stay healthy. So to be able to do all of that and to set yourself up for future success and getting the team whose player you stole from them to also give you their picks moving forward, and KJ Martin, who, if you combine KJ Martin and those picks you got, who knows what you can turn that into this year at the trade deadline or maybe next offseason. This was, looking back on it, a great job by Morey. Of course, it'll ultimately be decided if they can win a championship and if they can get it done. But if they do, we're going to look back on these past couple of years and these trades Morey has made and said, wow, these were some tremendous moves he was able to pull off.
And this is the most talented Sixers team that we have seen in a long time. So with that, let's ask you this. And let's hear from you down in the comment section. More wins this upcoming season. Will it be Philadelphia? Will it be the Clippers? Let us know down in the comment section. I think the Clippers could be bad. By the way, that new logo, I don't like that either. Coming up next, how Daryl Morey can finish the job with this current team right now because they have 1 or 2 roster spots that they're set to fulfill. First, these Team USA shirts, we continue to show you them thanks to our friends at Fanatics because they're awesome. Team USA winning the gold medal, great semifinal over Serbia, and then a very nice performance against France. Steph Curry, just unbelievable in that game on Saturday. So celebrate Team USA winning the gold medal, Joel Embiid being a champion, chatsports.com/Team USA, Nike shirts, they are awesome. As for how Daryl Morey can finish the job, some free agent targets here remaining for Philadelphia to fill out 2 roster spots, but Daryl Morey did say we might keep one of them vacant. You have Marcus Morris. You have Guerschon Yabusele, who we talked about earlier this week, from France, a former first-round pick of the Boston Celtics, who is trying to make his way back to the NBA. He played very well during the Olympics and was good in that gold medal game. Davis Bertans, a shooter who doesn't give you much more than that. Former Sixer, Landry Shamet, who can still shoot the rock, and then Jae Crowder, a little bit of an older player, but can knock down the 3, defend, and is fearless and is a physical body. Mid-season, let's look ahead to that. Philadelphia could use KJ Martin and the Clippers picks to bring in another player. And a reason why Philadelphia gave KJ Martin the contract that they did was, in my opinion, and Chip's opinion, so that they could finesse the league once again, flip him for a player toward the NBA trade deadline to match some salaries. And with that, you look at the trade targets who are possible for Philadelphia here at about the NBA trade deadline coming up in February. Naz Reid would be a tremendous fit. Bobby Portis, Dorian Finney-Smith, the apple of my eye. Tari Eason, if you want to go younger. And then Simone Fontecchio, a forward with Detroit. So, Chip, what do you think is the most likely avenue, and then your overall thoughts on the back end of the show here?
So I do think most likely the Sixers sign Marcus Morris. If I'm Daryl Morey, I sign either Morris or I sign Yabusele if he's available, if he wants to come over.
The buyout's tough.
Buyout's tough.
Yep.
Teams are going to be interested. We'll see how much he ends up signing for, but one of those two I think you have to sign. You keep that roster spot open, as Daryl Morey has said. You see throughout the first half of the season what your biggest needs are. I think they're going to come to find that even if they sign Yabusele or Morris, they're going to want more wing depth. You can never have enough of it in this league. Guys that can do a little bit of everything, have a wide variety of a skill set rather than just being good at one thing. I think they are going to need one more rotational guy. So, Naz Reid and Bobby Portis, those would be lovely and ideal targets. Not quite as realistic as someone I think like a Simone Fontecchio or a Tari Eason or a Dorian Finney-Smith. If I had my pick, I would love Dorian Finney-Smith. Good on both ends, can space the floor. So if you can go out and get, again, either Marcus Morris or Yabusele and trade for ideally a Dorian Finney-Smith, this team would be perfectly set up. There'd be no excuses in my opinion. I know how good the Celtics are, how good the Knicks are, and obviously the teams you have to face in the West if you got there to the finals. But there'd be no excuse in my opinion if the team stays healthy, the talent they would have, the coaching they have to make a run to the finals this season and set themselves up for success moving into the playoffs.
So that's something to keep an eye out for, how Daryl Morey decides to round out the roster. You're good at guard. You're good at wing. You need some players in that front court at that 4 spot. So you're Daryl Morey. Name a player you want the Sixers to add. Drop us a name or names down in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.